Welcome to the next session of Getting Started in Bible Storytelling to Young Children. What engagement with the Bible story looks like and how to achieve it. What are we hoping for when we tell a Bible story to a child or children? Maybe you are telling the story to one child or a group of children who are part of your family. You may be telling a story in Sunday school or in a parent and toddler group. If it's the latter, then adults will be there too. And it's important that we acknowledge that the presence of lots of adults brings its own opportunities and challenges. Fundamentally, we want young children and their adults to listen. But what does this look like? If we're telling a story at bedtime to our own children, we want active listening. It's good for children to ask a question, to laugh, to point at pictures that we might be using. In Sunday school, we may not want so many questions during the Bible story. They can really mess up our own train of thought. And for the children who want to listen to the story, rather than the questions that are asked by others, these questions can be really frustrating. Interruptions need to be limited, so encourage questions after the story is ended. In a toddler group, you want the adults engaged too, but you don't want to lose the children. We've already thought about focusing on the familiar in our stories. Now we want to think about a type of listening that is active, rather than sitting in silence. Audience participation. Active listening is a great way of keeping adults and their young children involved in the Bible story. So we aim for active participation, active listening. How do we get active listening? Well, first of all, set the mood. Have a way of making everyone aware that it is time for the Bible story and it's time for them to join in. At home, it could be that you tell a Bible story at the same time every day, maybe at bedtime. It could be that this is in a special chair, somewhere comfy to sit with you and your children. In Sunday school or toddler group, the story should always take place in the same space and make it cosy and inviting. Be on the children's level. Don't just sit on a really high chair above them and look down on them, but try to make eye contact with the children and encourage adults, if they're there, to sit with their children. Announce story time the same way each time, particularly in a toddler group setting, with a special song or rhyme. This is much better than asking everyone to come and sit and be ready. It can take a long time to say those things over and over again. It's time for the story. Everyone come and join us. Is everyone ready? They can join in with a song or a rhyme, and this easily becomes your Bible story theme tune. It sets the tone. It sets the space ready for story. And when you tell the story, use some actions that everyone can join in with and encourage them to join in. So, for example, in the story of Zacchaeus, you can include actions of running on the spot or hands tapping on knees, climbing on the spot and looking. And in your toddler group, it would look like this. Have your space prepared, this cosy, welcoming space where people can sit with their children, more or less in comfort. Have a few chairs for folks that can't sit on the floor. Gather everyone by beginning your theme tune. Say hello, and then explain what you're going to do. In our story today, there are some actions for us all to do. We have running and climbing and looking. When we get to the right part of the story, see if you can join in. And then tell your story. And you do the actions, and people will join in with you. And when you're finished, you say thank you for listening and joining in. Expect everyone who can to join in with you, but some may not, and that's fine. They will join in when they feel comfortable, so don't take it personally. This type of active listening will help the group to focus on what you are saying, and the more you do this, the easier it will become. So this is where we are heading, active listening. Now, a story from my own experience. The first time I told a toddler group story, it felt like a disaster, because it pretty much was a disaster. There was not much listening, active or otherwise. It seemed very chaotic and like I was talking to a very small minority of the group, and I was mortified that story time seemed to go on and on and on. And then 3 years later, after that, I was asked to tell the story again. And I was given Joshua and the walls of Jericho. I was very nervous, and I didn't want the same storytelling experience as before. I decided to tell the story with actions. We were marching round the walls while we were seated and tapping our hands on our knees so not to have too much chaos. People in Jericho were looking. We counted aloud the times we walked. We pretended to blow trumpets. We shouted, and we made a loud crash by clapping hands. I didn't use any pictures of props, just actions, and it was a lot better. I actually enjoyed telling the story, and the children and adults present joined in. At the end of the session, a mum thanked me for telling a story in a way that her child could enjoy. And this is what we're aiming for: stories that people listen to actively and enjoy taking part in. And next time, we'll build a Bible story to tell that focuses on the familiar and uses actions to encourage active listening. Now, to be ready for next time, see if you can find a rhyme or a song that you'll always use to introduce your story time. Make sure it's something you really like, because you'll be using it a lot. So hopefully, I'll see you next time.